we're giving away Midway grade marks. What grade would you give the Leafs at the midway point of the regular season, Gabby?
Well, from what the expectations were and to what they've done, I'd give them a C. Um, I think they, when you look at regulation wins and you look at how, where they are right now, I mean, they're 3 points out of a playoff spot, I think. And we expect uh, maybe overly too much when you're a Torontonian and a Toronto fan. You expect too much from them right now, but I just think that they're when they're above ground and they have got a really tough schedule. I mean, I think they've got the toughest schedule remaining in the NHL. So I mean, what was used to be okay, let's go out there and play. We win. We know we're going to be in the playoffs. That's all that matters. Now the question is, I mean, they lose tonight and a couple teams win. I mean, now all of a sudden it's going into the All-Star break. I mean, because I think they play Vancouver and then they play Seattle and Calgary. All teams in the West playing really well. So who knows what's going to happen? And especially with their goaltending is sort of up in the air. I mean, it's the unknown of what you're getting day to day. I'm a little worried about it. I still have a lot of confidence that they're going to get there, but it's not like other years where these are guaranteed. And let's start talking about the playoffs now.
Yeah, Bruce, I was going to ask you with your, expertise, you could call it, in coaching in the NHL. If you're Sheldon Keefe right now and you see what's going on with the games, I mean, blown leads and, not as much lately, but losses to these lower level teams. To us, we've talked about preparation and mindset going into certain games. If you're the coach, if you're Sheldon Keefe, what's your next play on trying to get more out of this team and getting them to play together when the going gets tough?
Well, I mean, I think we're overestimating their talent. And one thing, I mean, the NHL is tough. I don't think their defense is extremely great right now, and I mean it's aging. It's other than Morgan Riley on the back end. I mean, all the other guys are susceptible. I think their goaltending is questionable. Their top two lines are really good. They've got some of the greatest forwards in the game today. But I mean, I think what Domi's got 4 goals. Bertuzzi's been not as advertised. Ryan Reeves has been sort of nondescript, if you ask me. I mean, game 1 he was a force of the year, but that's game 1. Other than that, when you're fourth line, I mean, when you're -10 and above, I mean, you can't win at that rate. I mean, Jay, everybody, every coach you've ever had said, listen, if you've got to be even is great, but if we can't put you on the ice if you're going to be a minus player, and especially on the road. So it's they've got to get that fixed too. So I mean, I'm not sure that they're not playing as hard as I think they're playing as hard as they can. I just don't think they're as good as people in Toronto and Toronto Maple Leaf fans think they are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And maybe that's just it. We have unfair expectations. But I think this all stems to the core 4. So Nylander signs the extension. First and foremost, what did you make of that? Because I thought it was kind of interesting and curious over the weekend that Sheldon Keefe chose to call out and single out Willie Nylander. I'm not sure if you caught that.
Well, I didn't catch it, but I mean, I don't think that's coincidental. I mean that all he did was praise him all year. I mean, you've heard nothing but praise from Nylander from game 1 till what you're telling me right now. But now he signs the big deal and he doesn't get a couple points. We're looking to blame somebody, and I don't know if that's the right call at that point. I mean, I don't think I would have made that call, but Sheldon's obviously pushed the right buttons whenever he's needed to. So, I mean, he knows the players. The one thing, coach knows the players better than anybody else, better than the GM, better than anybody else. He's in there in the fight every day with them. So he knows what, or should know what buttons to push to get the best out of these guys. And if he thought that he had to do that for William, maybe William needed a little bit of a jump start. Maybe he got a little cocky knowing he's got this year and 8 more coming with him. Like, I mean, he's there for life, whether he likes it or not.
You're bound to get a bit complacent too when you sign for that type of money, but obviously plenty of time to turn it around if you're Willie Nylander after the last couple games. But I talked about the extension. Did you have any problems with it? Like, did it make a lot of sense in your world?
Well, I mean, the only way it wouldn't have made sense is if we trade him, are we going to get equal value? And very rarely, when you trade out of necessity, you very rarely get equal value. Like, I mean, the last trade I saw was the one last week with Philadelphia and the Islander, or the Anaheim Ducks, that looked like, hey, you know what? That's a trade that's good for both teams. It's a good hockey trade and everything else. But very rarely do you get that, especially at the trade deadline. You see great players going for next to nothing. I mean, Bo Horvat would have been in the same Nylander kind of situation this time last year, and they got Beauvillier, who they traded. They got this Ratty, who's a minor league guy, and they ended up getting a first-round pick, which they traded for Hronek, which has done really good. But so it's Hronek basically for Bo Horvat, and you know, and that was a lucky move, I think, by Vancouver, because they didn't expect it to be that good. But so rarely do you get the equality in a trade when you make those trades. So I would have signed him because he's that good. He's a 100-point guy, a 40-goal guy. And when teams need to find other ways to get money, they find other ways to get money. That's all I've seen over the years.
Bruce, do you think this team's problem, for what they've struggled for, you know, is just having too many eggs in the top, the core 4 basket? I mean, right now I'm looking at the Winnipeg Jets, and they're just a pistol right now, right there, top of the league. And I mean, their money is spread out so much more evenly than the Toronto Maple Leafs. Have they handcuffed themselves with, you know, giving too much to these guys, leaving everything else too thin? Is that what's exposing them all the time?
Well, I mean, I think in recent years it has been. I mean, but they've got those players. They were lucky enough to get Marner in the draft and Matthews in the draft. I mean, they tried to get Stamkos. If they had got Stamkos, they wouldn't have got Tavares, I don't think. But I mean, Nylander in the draft. I mean, they did great job picking these guys, and they want to keep them. I mean, it's unfortunately they're all forwards. I mean, I think they would love to have a little more balance, and on the back end and the goaltending and the forwards. But right now it's the forwards that are great. So what do is you have to build your team around offense and not defense. And even though they were very good defensively last year, that's what they're doing. And so, I mean, to me, they have to outscore the opponents if they want to win games. I mean, watching that Detroit game, I counted 6 odd man rushes in the first 2 periods. And you can't win if you're going to allow those kind of odd man rushes all the time.
It's very glaring, certainly, with this team the last little while. I want to get your thoughts as well on the goaltending situation. Like, it's pretty crazy. We're sitting here on January 16th, and I guess Martin Jones is the number 1. There's not much clarity on Joseph Woll and Ilya Samsonov. Like, it's got to be a bigger sample size for me to have any trust in this guy moving forward. But how do you view the crease situation right now, Gabby?
Well, I mean, it's up in the air. Like, I mean, Marty Jones is a tremendous number 3, but that's what they signed him, as a number 3. And I mean, he's bounced around a lot. And when you get that opportunity, like he did, he came and he did really well. Now let's be honest about it. It was Anaheim and San Jose twice. So I mean, you can make your bones. I mean, 2 couple shutouts or what have you. Samsonov, I thought, played really well, made a great save with 4 minutes to go to keep the game tied. But again, small sample size, even though he was really good last year. Maybe this was an eye opener and maybe he comes back to form. But again, we're guessing. We don't know. Joseph Woll, I mean, I agree with you, Nick. I mean, where we haven't heard too much about his health right now, and if it's a high ankle sprain, as Rosie, can take forever to come back from, and especially goaltenders who need that push off on the ankle. But I don't even know if he's skating as yet. If he's not skating, he's still 2 weeks away, I would think. So with this schedule and everything, I think the Leafs are going to have to change the way they play and really button it down defensively.
Bruce, what is your prediction on this this Northwest swing they're on here? I don't have a clue what they're going to show up with. What do you see? What's your prediction?
Well, I don't know either. They're playing, all the teams they're playing are playing really well. And is it 4 or 5 games they're playing? Going
4.
On 4.
Yeah.
So, and it starts in Edmonton, and then does it go to Vancouver, Seattle, and then come back home against Winnipeg or Calgary? Is that
so? They got Edmonton. They got Edmonton Tuesday, Calgary Thursday, then the Vancouver Saturday, Seattle on the back-to-back. They come home to play Winnipeg, and then they visit Winnipeg for some reason. 5 and 6. Yeah.
Their next 6 games are so vital, I think, and if they could come away 3-3, to me, would be okay. I mean, they'd kept their heads above water, and I think it also would be a jump start to make them think, hey, you know what? We're almost 50 games in. We better kick it into gear now. And I think they can. I think I've seen them do it. We've all seen them do it. But I mean, it's unlike the last few years where they've been guaranteed spots and they've been looking at, can I catch first place, rather than now I'm 3 points out of a playoff spot with teams coming up.
They're teetering. Like it feels that way, and I think obviously you bring the unique perspective of all your accomplishments in coaching in this league. And I'd love you to take, peel back the curtain. Like what do you think is going through the mind of Sheldon Keefe right now? Because I've been saying for the last couple of weeks, he some of the acts he's been doing, he seems very, very desperate. Like he's just searching for answers, and I'm not sure he's getting those answers. Like, what do you think is happening behind the scenes and how he's feeling game by game here?
I really don't know. I mean, but I would say this, that probably as a head coach in the regular season, this is his first true adversity. I mean, he sailed through it pretty well, making either second or third place in the division since as soon as he got there. I think he went on an 8-game winning streak when he took over for Babcock, and he's never looked back. So I mean, this is the first sense of a little bit of adversity, and it's probably a little more nerve-wracking than he would be normally. So I mean, it's undoubtedly gets a little more excited, a little quicker these days, and if and I know the Toronto media very well. I mean, they want to take advantage of every little negativity that they can see. So he's just got to stay the course, to me, do what he does, know what works, and block out the white noise.
Brucey, there's some people that just say, all the regular season doesn't matter. They've had 117-point seasons, and it doesn't matter what they do here. It's the playoffs that matters. But what's your take on that? Because I've never seen a team, and I've never thought a strategy was good to say, screw it, don't worry about what we're doing now. Let's just turn it on in the playoffs. I find that to be insane.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I really get mad at everybody that doesn't give the regular season enough credit. There's 32 teams in the NHL, and only 16 of them make the playoffs. So half the teams in the league don't make the playoffs. And you could make a really good argument that 23 teams are capable of being in the playoffs. So I mean, it's tough. The grind is so tough for 6 months to stay focused. And that's why, Wayne Gretzky's always said, like, there's so many different stages in the season. You got the preseason, the regular season, after the All-Star break, after the trade deadline, and playoffs. And every one of them gets ramped up to a certain degree. And you play better. And like watching the. I know I'm going on a little bit of a tangent here, but I mean, watching the playoffs yesterday in the NFL, you're seeing the difference between a regular season football game and playoffs. These guys are doing, and more people are getting hurt because they're paying the price, and that's what ramps up in the playoffs. But make no bones about it, the regular season is not only important, it's vital. And I just think if you let up and you think that this is an easy thing, we're there and we're there, the next thing you know, you find you're out of the playoffs, and that would be devastating to this organization.
Yeah, that's fair. And Rosie is referencing me because I say it on a daily basis. The regular season doesn't matter. And maybe it's my standard for this team has been, oh, they should get into the playoffs, no problem. But I get what you're saying. I always say it's all about progress, and I'm not seeing it from this team right now. Before we let you go, were you surprised how viral your clip about Quinn Hughes went, about somebody in the Canucks organization vouching for Hughes to play center? Did you see how crazy it went on social media?
I sort of did. I mean, I heard all about it. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't get away from it. And the whole point was I was trying to say how Quinn Hughes is a good bet to win the Norris this year and how good he was. So when I got the suggestion, I could see the quality in Quinn, and I just said no. But you know what though? All coaches, I want to emphasize this because people made a big point out of it. All coaches get suggestions from people in the organization all the time, and we either agree with it or we don't agree with it, and we still do what we're supposed to do or what we're allowed to do. I mean, I've had so many suggestions from every team, whether to when I was in Anaheim. They wanted Nick Ritchie playing with Ryan Getzlaf, and so we put him up there with Ryan Getzlaf, and they'd want there'd be suggestions all over the place. And it wasn't that I didn't think Quinn Hughes wouldn't be a great center like his brother Jack, very similar. I just thought he was a great defenseman, and I wouldn't do that. So I didn't think anything of it, but now I know how things go viral, and I'll probably stay away from any of those controversies for the next little while.
You're a viral sensation, my friend. And if I were Sheldon Keefe, I would try to make Ilya Samsonov a right-handed shooting defenseman. That's my play here. Okay.
And that's why you're never going to coach. You just keep doing what you're doing.
Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.